Now, the next step is creating a project area. And now I just went under Documents. We all have a Documents folder right here. Oh, not that one. We have a Documents folder right here. And under Documents, I put a Projects directory. You can call it whatever you want. And I then, of course, tagged it because I like using this to get back and forth to the things that I'm using a lot quickly. So I tagged that. And then under projects, I put Moria mods. And my Moria mods is empty. All right. So let's talk about some of the free software that you need to get a hold of. And I'm going to install them fresh. I uninstalled them and I'm doing it all right here, right in front of you as we speak. All right. Let's close that down and we're going to get out of that. Okay. Let's talk about FModel. FModel is a free application. In fact, all of these applications I'm talking about are free. So if someone says you have to pay for them, they're robbing you. So don't do that. So I'll just do a empty browser real quick. So you want FModel, https fmodel.app. Again, it'll be in the description below. And it'll bring you right to here. Software for exploring Unreal Engine games. There's a download now button. Download now button. There is a Discord community. This software is patched regularly. So if you'd like to contribute to them, please do. I've donated. And I think they do a great job. Okay. So here's the FModel application. That's it. Pretty simple, huh? And what I do is I'm going to go to my projects folder, Moria mods, and I'm going to create, well, I can just do this. I guess I had multiple copies of FModel. I'm going to put it here. And let's see, if you go into it, it's just the file. So I'm going to extract it here. Now this will depend on the application you're using, but I just go extract files to here. And we'll delete that. And then we're going to put this on our toolbar just for convenience. Or you can put it to your start menu or wherever you like. So you can pin it to your start menu or pin it to your taskbar. I'm going to pin it to my taskbar real quick. All right. So there you go. That's it. You downloaded it. I'm going to delete that download. And now we're going to open the next browser window. Or you don't have to use a different one, but you can. And of course, these will be in the description below. But we're going to do retoc. Now, I'll explain what all these things do later. But we're going to go here. We're going to take retoc. No, wrong one. I should shut my windows. It's going to get confusing. And we're going to put this zip file here. Let's see. That's all it is. All we care about is just this. We don't. Yes, you should read the license and know what you're getting into, but I'll save that for another day that will likely never come. Anyway, we will extract that here. We will delete the zip file. I'm going to delete these two. Now retoc is here. We're next one, UAssetGUI. It'll be under downloads. Ah, here it is. Just going to cut that out and we're going to bring it here. All right, these are the three main applications we are going to use. There is another free application that is used for graphics files and graphics file editing and modeling. It's called Blender. I am a novice on Blender. In fact, if there was a level 0, to quote Kung Fu Panda, I'd probably be level 0 or maybe 1/2 on Blender. It is one of the premier tools a lot of folks use for 3D modeling. Everything from 3D printing, which I do some of, but I use a CAD program for that. But a lot of the models in the game can be viewed with FModel. But if you wanted to edit them, you'd need Blender. Now, I'll put the link for Blender below. I'm not going to load up Blender today and show you Blender. That's not what this is all about. And so these are the three primary tools that you will use to explore the files, unpack them, pack them, and edit them. And so let's explore FModel first. Oh, we immediately come up and it wants to patch, which is cool. Download latest release, yes. And like I said, this thing's released all the time. It's a very nice program. All right, now the first time you run it, it must have saved something here, but it wants to know what directory you want to export to. So here's our pin for our projects and Moria mods, and we are going to create a folder, and we're going to call it FModel Exports. We're going to select that folder. It'll be up here. What mesh format do you want? PSK, PSKX is the what is used by Blender, and since that is the most popular, I'm going to leave that. Sockets as bones, that's fine. First level only. I like all levels personally. I've enabled everything. Texture format PNG. It's the easiest to use. Save HDR textures as radiance.htr. I would do that. And I just left the nanite format alone. Looks like you just changed something. FModel needs to restart. That's fine. Let's go back into settings. Okay, so output directory. We want to change that. We're going to put it in our projects, Moria mods, FModel exports. Okay. I don't know what that is. All right, so archive directory. This is the directory you want to use. Now, if you have Epic and only Epic, you're going to put in the Epic directory that we did here. We pinned here. Oop, where'd my... If you have only Steam, then you're going to use the Steam directory. Now, I play nowadays on Steam. I use Epic just for the mod development, which I like to keep separate. Otherwise, there is a chance you screw up the game. The game is cheap enough where I bought 2 copies. I mean, folks, with the number of sales we have on the game a year, right now the game's 45% off as of 10/4/2025. There's a Steam sale going on, the autumn Steam sale. It's 45% off. All the DLCs are 45% off. The cost of all 5, I think currently 5 DLCs and the base game is less than a meal at McDonald's in the United States. And so buying it all a second time just for convenience for me, because I'm doing mod development, isn't such a big deal. But to each their own. I know everyone's economic situation is different, but you know, 20, 30 bucks is less than the price of half of a normal game. And so I love the game so much and want to do mod development. Buying it a second time was a good thing for me. So if you wanted to use Epic Games, which I do, then we go back to this directory. And I'm going to zoom in on that. And we are going to copy that. Okay. And we are going to show this. And it's already stored here, but I'm going to overwrite it. And that is the directory that you want to configure it with. The game version is UE4_27 4.27, which is the last version of Unreal Engine 4. Don't go with the experimental ones. You want to set that one appropriate. Don't go latest. Don't go 26. You want 27. That's what the game is built in. The rest of these you pretty much leave alone. You want to keep the data structure. Don't change that one. The versioning is all fine. Local mapping file. You don't want to disable any of this. You want to keep everything as is. Alright, every time you got to change it, saves and reopens. It's kind of annoying. I didn't change any key bindings. You can if you want. Anyway, so there you go. This is now all configured. And you'll notice under archives, there is 2 files, the UTOC file and the PAC file. Now, the PAC file is an index and it's 207 megabytes. The rest of the game is this 12, almost 13 gig of data. These are all the objects in the game. It is not the code. People say sometimes it's the code. No, the code is written in another language. I don't know what language they use, but languages like C, C++, C#. I doubt they use Java or Python or Rust or anything like that, but there are lots of computer languages. The code actually uses the objects that are stored in this file for the game. So under archives, you get to choose your archive. You choose the UTOC. It'll be somewhere in the gigabyte range, 12, 13 gigabyte. So you click that and it'll bring you to the folders directory. And I think I'll follow. This will be easier. So you double click that and it opens it up. Now inside this file, which is stored in binary, which means you can't directly read it, as is. This application opens it up, opens up the binary, and displays it in a format that you can actually understand. So, and it's laid out in a directory structure very similar to the directories on your computer, like this. They're not the same, but the concept is the same. So I'm going to shut that. And here's the engine. There's nothing in the engine you really want to look at. It's the base content for the engine. And then there's Moria. Obviously, that's the game. There are some plugins. Don't bother with those. There's content. All right, now you're cooking. So this is the content of the game, and it's arranged in a directory structure. All right. So you can explore here. There's obviously audio. There's different configurations. There's character art, cinematics, and so on and so forth. And when the game designers built the game, they put the objects for the game in a directory structure. Now, some of the objects are informational only, and some of the objects contain the visual outline of something, and some actually contain the visual data. So there's a descriptor for the object, and then there can be just data in the object, and we'll go over what those are. And then there can be a description of an object, and then the visual look of the object, which is a series of pieces of data called meshes, and those meshes define a three-dimensional object and then overlay textures on top of those, and that can be it can be looked at here, but it can be fully explored and loaded into Blender, and you can edit it. Some objects are more complicated than others. Objects are made up of various components. Think of a person. You have a head, you have a torso, you have arms, legs, hands, armor, clothing, weapons. Each one of those things are a different object, and they can be combined into unique combinations. So let's look at something pretty simple. Let's see. Where do I want to go? Give me 1 second while I think about this. All right, let's just try something basic here. So Moria, content, like the directory structure. Now let's look at level design. I think there's a bunch of stuff in here I've explored before. Deco. Let's see. Let's do something in the urban area like that you likely will recognize. So urban. And so we're nesting down into the directory structure. Let's go to warehouse. Okay, so here are a bunch of objects. And let's look at the barrel. So now don't get scared. But this is the UAsset definition, the definition of what a barrel is. You're not going to need to read this. Okay, that's not where this is going. However, you do need to look for a couple of common things. And so once you find something of interest, and you're going to go, trust me, after this tutorial, you're going to go, okay, I just want to run around and explore. And this tool doesn't edit anything, so it's not dangerous. Or at least I don't know of an ability in it to edit. If someone does know that it has the ability to edit, let me know. But I've never found an ability to edit here. All right, so the first thing I did was I'm like, okay, well, I just want to look at what a barrel looks like. Now, it says that it's, it's in this directory structure, it's a barrel, and it's breakable. Okay, I don't know the difference right now between player or breakable or a breakable or broken breakable at this point. So you're like, well, okay, let's look at what this is. So I'm interested in looking at a barrel, and it is breakable. And so the definition of what that object is here. And most of these won't mean anything to you, but we want to look for how the object is visually defined and what to look for. And you can do a search, by the way. Up here you can, do a search by name, and then in here you can do Control F for find, and then over here you can type it in. So gen underscore variable is what you want to look for. And of course, it's going to lead you to this area here. And you're going to inspect it and kind of read through it. You don't have to understand what it all is. You can see that things have a max health is defined here, right? Which is interesting. I guess you could make a barrel that's really hard to break. So this is defining parts of the object, but what you're really interested in is this asset here, where it says destructible asset, and then these words here under the gen variable right here. And let me see if I can highlight this. Uh, you want to look for gen variable, and then you want to look for static mesh. Okay. Oh, and then this here is the path to the actual object's definition. Oh, look at that. Let's get rid of those lines real quick, because you're like, why is that there? There's our barrel. And that one has an open top. And you can zoom in and out. WASD zooms in and out. And that is a barrel that's in the game. Let's close the 3D viewer. This is the definition of the barrel. And then here, this is the definition of the barrel. And then this is the actual object itself. So let's look at a crate. So here's a crate. Again, we're looking for the gen variable right here. And we're looking for the definition of the mesh. We're going to click on it, and it'll bring us to a crate. Well, I wonder what a broken crate is. Well, it's kind of obvious, but we'll go with it. Again, do the same thing. Scroll down, gen variable right here. And then we're looking for the static mesh. Click. Oh, look, there's a broken crate. And of course, there's one with a lid. Or that's just the lid. If you wanted a lid, there you go. Or there's an open one. Gen variable. And that one doesn't have a lid. So you can feel free to explore these files. And this will be important later. So you wander around and you can just look at the objects that are defined in the name. And there's a ton of them. Some of which are in the game, some of which are not. Now, I'm going to ask you to do something here. Do not start to randomly post everything that you find everywhere to spoil the game for everyone else. Don't do that. There are things that were created in the game and were never finished. There were things that obviously they couldn't get to work or didn't like the way it looked, and they're half done, and they're just hanging out in the world, and there's no way to get to them or see them. But this video is for educational purposes, and it's not really so you can go and ruin the game for other people that don't want to get into mods and play. So please keep it to yourself or the modding community. And we have other channels. If you get involved with the modding community, there are other channels you can join outside of the main Discord for the game. And I would ask that you discuss those things in those channels privately and not in a public forum, whether it's in the Discord or Reddit or anywhere else, because you really don't want to ruin the game for people. That's just rude. There's a certain amount of responsibility that comes with the power of knowing how to do this. There's a famous Spider-Man quote there, which I will not quote. I'm sure it's copyright. But let's talk about another area, and that's tech. Now, tech is important because this contains the data of how the game system works. So when you're looking at under tech and you want items, let's see. Let's see ores. Let's look at ores. This is the definition of all of the ores in the game. So here's coal, for example. And we're going to use another tool to look at this in a meaningful way. But there are many places in this. And the nice thing about FModel is you don't have to worry about if you mistype something ruining the game. But for example, one of the mods that I truly like and have replicated is fat stacks, because today stack size is limited. And here we see iron ore. This is the iron ore. This is the path to the texture for the icon for iron ore. You'll notice that here. There's the icon. And this is the path to get to that icon. But one of the things you'll see here is max stack size, 30. And yes, changing that number will change the number in the game of how many can stack in a stack. And we'll talk about that later. All right. But we're going to use a different tool for that. This tool is great for exploring because, to my knowledge, there's no way of editing these files, so you're not going to break anything, and you can feel free to explore and find things. but we'll go over it. Moria content, tech, data, items, and then under items, going under packages, these are the items, and storage is here, the runes are here, the ores, the item sets, and so on and so forth. And these are the definitions of those items in the game, and some of the data and how they interact, but not the code. So people ask me all the time, John, can you add this? Or Mereak, can you add that? And I'm like, no, I don't have the code for the game. I can manipulate what they've defined in the game as changeable in the data object that is here. Things like max stack size. Or I could point it to something else and make it look different. But I can't fundamentally change the game. For example, adding functionality to lock, and this is one of the things I know a bunch of us want, ability to lock part of your pack or a chest so it doesn't change. So when you empty everything, those things don't move. That's a piece of functionality that's not supported in the game today. So there's no way to manipulate that without having the code. And they don't just give away the code. It's compiled, it's part of the game. When you're a developer and you write code, you know that it's copywritten, it's your intellectual property. Of course, so are these objects, but these objects can be changed and manipulated. And like I said, the devs don't actively fight against mods, but they don't support them at this time either, though I have heard John Paul say he would like to build an interface like some games had to allow modding in the future. And I think that's a really smart thing to do because, like I said, if you look at the games that have extreme longevity, they all have people streaming them every day. They all have people modding them. They all have active wikis, and they all have large groups of people online on Discord and Reddit and so on. And this game has all of that, except for a very large modding community. And part of me doing this is to make sure to take the knowledge that I have learned, which I got from a gentleman who goes by the name of Tobichiru. I hope I said that right. I just call him Toby. He's a great guy. He's been leading me through some of this. I'm actively working on a couple of mods with him and others that have contributed in the Discord forums on mods and how to use some of these tools. All right, so this is FModel.